The future's alive. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. It's wealth and wisdom, time will rise. Author, investor, educated team, sharing the wealth, building things you should do. From trust to banking, it's all a must. Your guide to wealth is money and trust. Legacy matters, secure it right. Dreams take shape with every insight. Wills and assets, life insurance plans, building for your future with expert hands. Sometimes money and more, raising wealth with knowledge galore. Asset protection, plans to grow. Tune in and watch your dreams overflow. From saving today to trust for life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, banking tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. From saving today to trust for life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, banking tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. So tune in now, it's time to learn. So wisdom's your return. Invest, protect, and thrive for sure. Signing off is your top money and more.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Soul Talks Money and More. I am your host, Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. You guys, I hear myself talking and I don't know where it's coming from. I am totally confused this morning. I'm totally confused over here. Oh Lord, what's going on with my Facebook is just talking. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna come back to you. Good morning to my WMPR 90.1 listening audience, as well as my WGDQ 93.1 listening audience, my YouTube viewing audience. I see you checking in this morning. Good morning, good morning. And Facebook, I don't know what you're doing. They're just talking to me over here. I hear voices, Mr. John. I hear voices. I had to turn that off. Okay. This morning, I'd like to welcome you back. If you have been a part of the conversation, if you follow the show on a regular basis, you know I spent the month of October focused on National Estate Planning Awareness Month. We dedicated the entire month of October to educating our listening audience and our viewing audience on some aspect of estate planning. Now, if you missed any of the shows during the month, don't worry. We encourage you to go visit our YouTube channel at I Am So Noted. That's I-A-M S-E-W N-O-T-E-D. Just go on over there and catch up on the replays. I assure you we got some good stuff over there for you. Now, as an educator, my role, of course, is to educate. I am committed to doing that. If you know me, you know. If you see me, if you catch me, wherever I am talking about the importance of building, protecting, and properly transferring wealth. And I understand my role. My role is to educate. Now, but even in doing that, I often wonder if I'm really being heard or if my messaging is simply falling on deaf ears. You know, the reality is a lot of times I meet people when I'm out in the public who say they or listen to the show and they commend me on my efforts to educate the community. And I thank you. I enjoy meeting and interacting with my listening audience and my viewing audience. However, one of the things that is somewhat disappointing and concerning to me is generally when people reach out to me, they're reaching out to me because they're already dealing with some issue as it relates to estate planning. Typically, someone has died, property has not been transferred properly, and there is some type of debate or confusion in the family. And honestly, you guys, that is what I am trying to do. I am trying to be on the offense or position you to be on the offense. Once the property has already moved into situations of probate, it's not a lot I can do for you. I have a PhD. I don't have a JD. So I can't represent you in court. And that's really concerning to me. Just wondering if I am really being heard. So today I have entitled this show, Now That You Know, now that we've spent a whole month, literally, really over a year, I've been on air and my messaging has not changed. It has been the same. So my question for you this morning is, now that you know, what will you do? Now that you know, what will you do? Now, we've all heard that powerful scripture from James 1:22. Be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Now, that applies to every part of life, spiritual, emotional, and financial. Too many of us sit in church. We went yesterday. I'm sure we go to workshops or on social media, nodding our heads, saying amen to messages about stewardship and responsibility. But when it comes time to take action, we freeze, we delay, we say, oh, I'll get to it later. And later often never comes. Here's the thing. Knowledge alone doesn't change lives. Knowledge alone doesn't change lives. It's applied knowledge that does. Applied knowledge. You can know all the scriptures in the Bible about prosperity. You can attend every financial literacy class. You can even take notes on estate planning. But until you take action, until you apply what you know, you haven't moved the needle. Not at all. Dr. Williams, if you know me, you know how I like to put it. I can give you the information, I can give you the education all day long. But unless and until there is implementation, your situation is not going to change. It's not going to change. So let's talk about what happens when we are hearers but not doers. Hearers but not doers. Hearers but not doers. And with that note, I think I have a call. I'm actually expecting a call from someone who is not just a hearer but a doer. When it comes to estate planning in the Black community, we've seen it. You know what happens when we are just hearers and not doers. GoFundMe links after loved ones pass away, families divided over properties, generations of wealth lost because someone didn't take time to put their wishes in writing. We grieve the person, but we also grieve the opportunity that was missed. And it's time out, you guys, time out for missed opportunities. That's why Dr. Williams is here. That's why I'm committed to being here. That's why I've sat in this chair for over a year, every Monday, through the rain, through the cold, even when folks lock the door and forget I'm coming into the studio and have me standing outside in the cold. I'm still... I'm not talking about anybody in particular. He knows who I'm talking about. But even when that happens, I'm still committed to being here. I'm still committed to the messaging because it's so very important. Now let's talk about delay. Every day that we delay getting our affairs in order, we risk turning our loved ones' time of mourning into chaos, you guys. Most of you, I'm preaching to the choir. You already know this. You already know. And I know that we love our families, but love is not just an emotion. Love is a responsibility. Love is an action. And the part of that action that we want to talk about today is putting those affairs in order. Now, again, for those that may be just joining us, good morning. Thank you for checking in. We have talked about this for the entire month of October, National Estate Planning Awareness Month. I talk so much, you guys. I think I almost talked myself out. Last week, I did 4 different trainings in 5 days. I was dog tired of talking and talking. But my question is anybody listening? Is anybody listening? Now that you know, what are you doing? Are you doing anything any differently? I can give you 5 things right now that you can do over the next 2 to 3 weeks. that don't even cost any money. My question to you is, will you do them? If I give them to you, will you do them? See, this is not about Dr. Williams. It's not even about you, really. It's about those that we leave behind. Now, I often say, when you know better, you do better. I often say that. And I encourage you, and many of us say that as well. But that only works if you decide, to do better. Some of us know what to do. We've attended the seminars. We bought the book, Learning to Trust. Thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate that. Some of you know because you listen to my show. You tune in every week. You tell me you're tuning in every week. And some of you know because you've seen the pain that comes from not planning. But even with all that, we still delay. We don't get things done. Knowing better should actually lead us to doing better. And in some instances, it actually does. I am expecting a call. Mr. Jones, I don't know if my caller is on hold. I'm expecting a call from a young lady who actually knows better and she's done better. She's on her, okay. She knows better and she's done better. And I'm so proud of this young lady. She had some interesting things that I wanted her to just share on air. She brings a very interesting perspective to estate planning, having gone through it with a family member who has not prepared or did not prepare prior to his own passing. She's gone through it for herself. And most recently, she went through the effort of reaching out to Dr. Williams to look out for a friend that she saw that may end up in a situation that will require her to have some documentation involved. And so I'm so happy to know that even if my regular listeners are not listening to me and implementing, y'all know that's my word for 2025, implement. There are some individuals that are actually listening to Dr. Williams. And not only are they listening, are they hearers of the word, they are doers of the word. So I'm going to see if I can't join my caller. Here, give me just a second. Mr. Jones, I don't see it. Okay, the red one. All right, Miss Arthur.
Good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning, sweetie. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have you, Eartha. I am so proud of you. I don't know how much of my intro that you heard, but as I was telling my listening audience, I've been talking about this stuff for a while, and I literally spent the entire month of October doing trainings, in-person trainings. I've done them online. I've done them for family groups. I've done them, you name it. Dr. Williams has done them. And actually, in one of the groups that I did, you were a participant in that group, were you not?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I heard it on Fly Nubian Queen.
Okay.
And I was like, I've been trying to figure it out since my brother passed away.
Okay, Eartha, let's start right there. Your brother passed away. I want our audience to kind of hear, because I remember you telling me some things about that process. Now, your brother passed away when? How long ago?
April 2024.
April of 2024. Now, did he have an estate plan or did he have anything in place when he passed?
No, ma'am. His past intestate had absolutely nothing.
Nothing in place. Nothing in place. So at the time, I understand you told me your brother had a mortgage that was required to be paid, right?
He lived in New Jersey, and he had a $2,500 mortgage.
All right.
Wells Fargo.
A $2,500 mortgage that he left behind, that somebody had to pay the mortgage, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I was the next in charge.
So you were the next in charge. So that responsibility, that financial responsibility fell on you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So how was that
If we
for
wanted
you,
to keep the
Eartha?
house,
Right. How was that for you though? Trying to
it was
maintain
rough.
your own property, your own responsibilities, and now you have this
Mm-hmm.
$2,500 a month obligation kind of laid in your
Oh,
lap.
it's not the $2,500 a month, ma'am. All
Oh,
his bills.
it wasn't just the 2,500; it was
No.
the rest of the bills as well. Oh,
All his bills, and then of course the funeral and the
mm-hmm,
lawyer bills,
mm-hmm.
and we had to keep up the car insurance, and we it was just it just kept on coming in, the
Okay,
bills,
bills kept coming.
and we had to get the lawyer. The lawyer's like, if you let any of the bills lapse or any of the insurance lapse, it's going to be difficult to get stuff done in court, and so we had to keep up all the payments. Well, I had to keep up all the payments.
Okay.
And,
Now,
and what was crazy was we called the bank where his mortgage was getting paid to let him know that he passed away, and they literally shut his bank down, his account down.
okay.
So we were dependent on that money coming out of that account, and they shut it down. So now okay, who got to pay the bill? I got to pay the bill. I got to pay the mortgage. Everything that was coming out, everything that was being paid out of that account, I had to pick it up.
Okay, so let's stop right here.
I didn't want to get in trouble.
Hold on. Let's put a pin right here. So earlier in the show, I said I could give you some things right now that you can do, you can implement, and you need to implement. Now, you just heard Eartha say that once the bank became aware that her brother had passed, they immediately froze the account. So thing number one that I'm going to tell you to do, and everybody can do this and it won't cost you a dime other than some time, please make your way to the bank and put a POD, payable on death, on your accounts, so that should you find yourself in the situation that Eartha finds herself, or should your loved ones find themselves, they have access to whatever funds you have in that account so they can keep the bills going, so they can pay for the funeral, so that they are not struggling. That's an easy something to do. So please listen to Dr. Williams. Again, now that you know, what will you do? What's your excuse for not doing? Go to the bank and get it done. Now, Eartha, I want to shift the conversation just a little bit here. So having gone through this yourself, so you've gone through it with your brother, what was it about the presentation that said to you or spoke to your heart and said, I need to get my own affairs in order? What made you move toward action?
So I'm in the military, so they always made us have a will. And when you said a will, even though having a will, your stuff is still going through probate, and I'm going through probate, so I know exactly what's going on, what happens when you go through probate. Nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to the state you're in, and when they take what they want and they give you the rest. And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't, have the state that did absolutely nothing for me, because I was in the military, so I bounced around a lot. Whatever state I decide to, settle in, they're going to take all my stuff and then give my son the rest of whatever is left over after they take what they want. So I was like, oh, I need to, I've been thinking about the trust for the longest, but when you started talking about it, I said, okay, I need to do the trust. I need to buckle down and stop procrastinating and get this trust complete so that I can protect my son, protect my wealth, protect everything that I worked so hard for, and make sure that it passes on to him seamlessly.
Wow, I am so proud of you, Eartha. And I hope that my listeners are really hearing what you said. And I just want to stop and say thank you for your service to our nation.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a student who not only was a hearer of the word, but a doer of the word. Eartha didn't have to hear it, 50 times, like tune in to So Talks Money and More week after week after week after week and hear the same messaging. Eartha decided, because this is my lived experience, I'm going to do something different. And so I'm so appreciative of you and your willingness, quite frankly, Eartha, to come on the show and share your experience, because that's something that many of us don't do. We won't do. We will go through things and we will hide and we'll deal with them in silence. I see people that approach me one-on-one and tell me, Dr. Williams, I'm going through this, that, and the other. And when I invite them on the show, it's like, oh no, I could never do that. I can't tell anybody, in public what I'm dealing with. But we learn. This is an educational platform. We learn from what others are dealing with. Now, Eartha, I got to shift one more time, because not only were you concerned about yourself, and I want to go ahead and add this, and I hope we're not overstepping here. One of the things that really struck me about Eartha was the fact that Eartha was determined to get her affairs in order while she had a little extra time on her hand, because unfortunately, Eartha is furloughed right now. And so, yeah, that has to be tough too. Eartha?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
I took it as an opportunity.
She took it as an opportunity. So again, we talked about something in church yesterday, and in Sunday school, actually. And I was telling them, no matter what happens to us in life, everything really is about a matter of perspective. Some people will go through a situation and they will faint under pressure. Other people will take that same situation and they will use it to their advantage. So Eartha said, well, since I'm sitting at home anyway, since I'm furloughed anyway, what better time to get my affairs in order? So I thank you so much, my sister, and I applaud you. I applaud you for taking the initiative. Now we gotta shift one more time, Eartha, one more time, because a couple of weeks ago, it hadn't even really been 2 weeks, maybe about 10 days ago, I received a call from you. And I tell you, everybody needs a friend like Eartha in their lives. Eartha, she called me frantic on a Thursday afternoon because her friend was getting ready to go into open heart surgery on Friday. Eartha, tell our audience about that. What made you just kind of look beyond yourself and think about your friend?
So ever since my brother passed, when I'm going through this situation, anybody that I speak to, I always bring up, hey, you have a will, or you taking care of your situation. And my one girlfriend, if you ever heard this say, if I have a will, that means I'm about to die. And I'm like, that does not mean that. I've had a will the whole time I was in the military. I'm not dead yet. And then she calls me that Thursday evening and said, oh, I've been in the hospital since Tuesday, and they told me they're going to rush me to get open heart surgery tomorrow. And I was like, what? I was like, so, did the hospital give you a health directive? No, they don't do that here. I was like, what? What hospital don't do that? You're about to go into a major surgery. I was like, oh, we got to get you a health directive. And then you, Dr. Sabrina, you said, when I called you, said, she also needs a POA. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm so happy for you that you helped us and actually gave us all that information on the fly, like on that quick. And I was like, but I said, well, I remember saying, well, if I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it. And you blessed us by actually giving us those 2 pieces of paperwork so that we could get it completed before she even went into surgery. So at 10 o'clock that night, we got everything notarized, and she was good to go for her surgery.
Okay, so can you give us an update and kind of tell us what happened along that journey? Was it a in and out surgery? Did she run into any complications?
So The first surgery, the initial surgery was fine. She came out, and when I visited her that Friday evening, she got up. We talked and laughed and joked. I went back the Sunday, and that by the time I left that Sunday evening, she had a stroke. She's still, recovering from that stroke. She has not been able to use the right side of her body. So we went and saw her yesterday. She's aware of her surroundings, but she's still, out of it.
Sedated. Okay, so what you just said, Eartha, what you just said basically is at this point she is incapacitated, and that's the whole point of doing the healthcare directive, as well as what Eartha said, the POA, which is an acronym for power of attorney, which gives someone the authority to handle any type of financial responsibilities that you may have. So there's a lesson to be learned here. Those of us that know we have procedures coming up, please reach out to us and let us help you get that POA as well as a healthcare directive in place. As Eartha said, and what's interesting about this, Eartha, I need you to tell everybody, I'm in Mississippi. Are you in Mississippi, Eartha?
No, ma'am, I'm in Maryland.
Okay, and where was your friend?
My friend was in Pennsylvania. I was in Maryland. Her sister was in North Carolina. Her boyfriend was at home in Pennsylvania, down the street from where she was. She was in the hospital, and my husband was here in Maryland with me. So for the paperwork, we needed the person that she had as her power of attorney. We needed 2 witnesses, and of course her and myself. So 5 of us were all online on my remote notary platform, and we all were able to sign the document and notarize it.
Okay.
And by 10 o'clock that night,
it was done.
After 10, it was complete.
So here we are now. Again, the title of my show is Now That You Know, What Will You Do? We have no excuses, you guys. It's time out for all of that. Eartha just told you, I was in Mississippi. She was in Maryland. Her friend was in Pennsylvania. The sister was somewhere else. We got all of this stuff accomplished. No excuses, no sitting around waiting to see what's going to happen. We got it done. Now, Eartha, I am going to have to shift gears here and go ahead and give my closing monologue. But I thank you for tuning in this morning. I thank you for your willingness to call and share your story, your truth. And again, I am so proud of you. And I thank you for trusting me to help facilitate your trust journey. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Right now, we are over $100,000 out of pocket since starting this journey with my brother.
And this is the probate journey, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much did you say? Please repeat that for the people in the back. How much did you say you out of pocket?
It's over $100,000.
Okay. Okay.
And we're still waiting.
and probate has still not ended yet, you guys.
So we are in the inheritance tax phase now.
Wow. Okay. And each state is different.
I think that's a really important subject that we need to talk about, that inheritance tax phase.
Okay. So each state is different. Fortunately, for those of us here in Mississippi, we don't have to deal with inheritance taxes and all of that at the state level. Of course, there are taxes that go into pays at the federal level when you get to about, I think it's right now $13.1 million. And most of us don't have to worry about dealing with that. We don't have them kind of problems. But the fact is, we don't have those kind of problems. But the fact is, we do need to do our estate planning. With that being said, Eartha, thank you so much. I know you're up early this morning, and I appreciate your willingness to come on the show.
No problem.
Thank you. You take care.
Definitely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it right here. As we close today's episode, I want to challenge you to take one concrete step this week, not next week, this week, toward protecting your legacy. As I told you, go to the bank, get that payable on death designee on your banking information. And for those of you that are wondering, no, that doesn't mean your family has access to your money right now. That just means when you die, they can access your money. Because think about it, when you're dead, you won't need it. No matter where you go, you're not going to need that money. But they will, okay? Get that done. Get that healthcare directive, that power of attorney. You can get those things done this week by reaching out. I'll help you get it done. 601-891-5611, 601-891-5611. Or send me an email. iamsonoted@gmail.com. iamsewnnoted@gmail.com. We can get this done this week. As the holidays are approaching, we will be meeting with family members. We'll be congregating. Please start having some conversations. You need to talk to your family. You need to make them aware of what you have, where it is, and how you plan to transfer it to them. These are conversations we need to have, especially if you know you don't have any life insurance. Tell these people so they can start preparing. They're the ones that's going to have to bury you. It's not fair for them not to know that you have not planned properly. They need to know, okay? Let's get it done. These are some things we can do this week. Whether it's booking your estate planning appointment, updating your documents, that's something else you can do. Or simply having that conversation with your loved ones, do it. Because knowing without doing is like having a key and never unlocking the door. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this episode of So Talks Money and More. Remember, faith without works is dead, and knowledge without action is powerless. Not power. Knowledge without action is powerless. You've got what it takes, people. Come on. We are resilient people. You've got what it takes to build, protect, and pass on a legacy of wealth and wisdom. Let's not just talk about it. Let's be about it. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired, and as always, take care of your money, and it will take care of your legacy. Now, we're going to pause right here and throw it back to Studio A. We have a special guest that will be joining us on the other side of the break. So don't tune out on me. Come on back. We just got some other stuff to talk about. Mr. Jones?
Declared a public health emergency over its infant mortality rate, which is, get this, even higher than that of war-torn Ukraine, and has people asking why so many babies are dying in Mississippi and what can be done to save them. News Nation's Xavier Wall has the details. Xavier, how is this even possible in 2025? What's happening in Mississippi?
Marky, that's a great question.
Powerhouse, you know that? Good morning. Okay. Did you get my email?
Oh, no.
You didn't get the email. You didn't see the questions.
No, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I didn't want to catch you off guard, but my conversation is going to probably be a little different than normal conversations.
Available, but that success isn't the same across all 50 states. In fact, 20 states.
I didn't want to trip you up in any way. That's why I sent you the questions. But we'll see what we can do with it.
So bad in Mississippi in particular the state declared an infant mortality
And if I see you struggling with anything, I'll just move on.
The state's health department, the state had 9.7 infant deaths per 1,000 live births last year. It's the highest infant mortality rate in more than a decade. And what's the most staggering, the infant mortality rate for Black children in Mississippi up to 15.2, nearly 3 points higher than the year before. And it's the highest level in years for other non-Hispanic
I
children
got
of color.
this.
I
got this. Let me do what I do. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
It's at 6.4
I got
for
this.
Hispanic children and
Thank
nearly in line with the national average for white infants at 5.8. Put it simply, marking more than 3,500 infants have died in Mississippi before their first birthday in 2014. Think about that number, more than 3,500 before their first birthday since 2014. That's why so many are just trying to get to the bottom of this growing crisis.
Yeah, impossible to even think about or comprehend, how this is happening this day and age.
This public service announcement was sponsored by Newsmax in conjunction with WMPR 90.1 FM.
All right. We are back. Now, one of the things that I have the pleasure of doing as a radio talk show host is interviews, and I'm almost starting to get halfway good at it, I think. maybe not. But this morning, I have the pleasure of having one of the candidates that is vying for the position of Hinds County Coroner. Mr. Jeremiah Howard is in the studio with me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Well, first and foremost, I just want to let you know that this is an educational platform. Okay. So I like for people to be informed, and I don't think that there is any question that should not be asked when it comes to educating people. So a lot of people have heard of the coroner, but they may not really understand what the coroner's role is. So what is a coroner responsible for doing? Let's start there.
Well, a lot of people think that we just come and pronounce somebody deceased. That's not. That's a very, very small portion. Our most important responsibility is to determine the cause and manner of death. How did that person pass away? Was it a heart attack? What caused that heart attack? Where do I find my information? What hospitals they go to? Things like that. And then also to determine the manner of death. Was it natural? Was it accidental? Was it a homicide or suicide? So those are our most, the very first and most important responsibility of the coroner. But we are death investigators. We conduct death investigations to determine the cause and manner of death, no matter whether it's at home, if you pass away at home unattended by a physician, hospice deaths, we go out to all hospice deaths. If you are admitted into a hospital within 24 hours, that causes for a coroner's investigation because it could be something outside that hospital setting could have contributed to that passing. So if you're, like I said, if you're admitted within 24 hours of entering a hospital, then that requires a coroner's investigation. And then everything not natural, car wrecks, homicides, suicides, accidental falls, what have you, those all require a coroner's investigation. And there, like I said, once we determine the manner of death, we'll determine how much further that death investigation goes. For instance, if it's a homicide, yes, we're going to do an exam there. I can clearly tell you that it's going to be, say if they were shot, it's clearly, multiple gunshot wounds and it's a homicide. However, that doesn't end the investigation. Now we got to process that scene. Everything that I do is documented. There's somebody taking pictures or video and or body cameras, watching everything I do, so that we can try to, I refer it to like, collecting puzzle pieces. So we're trying to collect as many puzzle pieces as we can to solve that puzzle. So when we're on scene, anything like violent crimes, everything I do is documented. Once we get through with the initial investigation, the brief examination on scene, Then they'll go to the state medical examiner's office where those injuries will be forensically documented. That way that we, when we go to court later down the road, we can paint a picture of or describe those injuries to a jury.
Let me ask one question.
Sure.
So I'm listening to you. So just again, for educational purposes.
Mhm.
So is every death, like every time someone dies, is the coroner required to be called to pronounce, I guess, the person deceased?
Not every death. So if you're in
Okay.
the hospital and you've been there longer than 24 hours, those don't require coroner's investigation. Especially if we got like a long history of, I don't know, cardiac disease, and you pass away from, a heart attack. Well, obviously those would not require a coroner's investigation. Just the ones that happen outside of a hospital, or if you're in the hospital within 24 hours, and then anything not natural.
Okay.
Anything and everything not natural. It don't, whatever, the case may be, we got to come and determine, again, that cause and manner of death. And in certain situations, with the, and there may be a possibility that I don't know just yet, what caused that person. For instance, we had a guy go to the hospital the other day, and he ended up being shot in the leg. And, we originally were thinking it was going to be accidental. And then in the investigation part, we had some red flags that we had to, determine whether they were true red flags or, if try not to get off too deep in the investigation, but basically it was late. I ended up putting the guy on hold because, again, I only have one chance to get this right. I can't lose my decedent because I can't lose custody of that, because at that point, if it was determined a homicide, he is considered evidence, and I need to preserve that evidence, get that evidence collected and documented, or in this case, like maybe forensic or the injuries, get those forensically documented before we can, proceed on. But so eventually what I did was I ended up putting them on hold because we ended up having one little red flag. But, within 30, 45 minutes, able to talk to the family. I mean, it was witnessed, there was several witnesses there, family members witnessed that the guy just accidentally, shot himself. So at that point, I can release the body.
Okay.
But at that point, at that moment in time, like I said, I only have one chance to get this right. I'm not messing that up for him or the family. Even if the family, they're, really, insinuating that they want to come see him, that I can't do that, because at the end of the day, I have to bring you justice. I have to get justice for you and your loved one. And I'm not going to do anything. Sharon Grisham Stewart was real big on that. Not to do anything to jeopardize the integrity of the investigation. Because we're, if we jeopardize that integrity of the investigation, then we just deny those families justice.
Let me ask you something. So you are a death investigator.
Correct.
All right. And we have a race that most people are aware of. Election day is Tuesday. Tomorrow, November the 4th. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. So we are encouraging the residents of Hinds County to come out and exercise your right to participate in this selection of the next coroner for Hinds County. Now, you're not new to this work.
No.
And I don't live here in Hinds County. So I have a question. How many candidates are vying for this position?
It's 6 total, including myself.
6 total.
Yeah,
okay.
6 total.
Six people want to be death investigators.
So,
yeah. That's interesting to me. I worked for the Department of Labor, OSHA, for about 10 years. And I saw a lot during my time there. And I say that not lightly, because investigating deaths is not easy.
No.
It's not easy. You see a lot of things. You go home with images in your mind that are not easily forgettable. So let me just ask you, even with that being said, what inspired you to pursue this career in this area? And
so what inspired me? So I'm gonna be honest with you. I really started about 17 years ago when I joined the Pocahontas Volunteer Fire Department. I've been on that department for the last 17 years. 10 years ago, they elected me as the fire chief, and I'm still the fire chief to this day, which fortunately with the fire department, that's totally free. That is completely volunteer. I don't get paid anything to do it. None of the training, the classes, putting on the meetings and taking care of, I don't get paid for any of that. Running calls in the middle of the night, we do that for absolutely free because I love my neighbors. I love my community. And in Pocahontas, we go wherever we're called. It doesn't matter whether it's in Jackson or it can be in Vicksburg, Crystal Springs, we're coming. So anyway, I think it all started with the volunteer fire department. And it gave me my sense of responsibility for my fellow citizens that, if I'm an able body, like I'm gonna come help, and so I think that's where my community service really kicked off with the fire department. I love the fire department. I love helping people. Sometimes, just being a presence will help people, if like they're having an anxiety attack, you just being there, showing up, like will calm them down. And it's really self-gratifying because, that first time that, you hear, thank you, saved my life. Or, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. That's self-gratifying. That makes you feel really, really good. And I really consider it like the ultimate community service because, there's times that I have to put my life in danger. I've looked at some scenes and I'm just like, man, I'm about to die. I was like, well, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's, I got to go help. So, but it all started with that. And that's what led me into meeting Miss Sharon Grisham Stewart about 10 years ago. We were we had a couple of natural deaths up in my area. And I got called with the fire department. Well, there was this one guy that was, he was a fairly large individual. And of course, Miss Sharon was like 5'0" And, I told her, I was like, look, if you need help, just get the sheriff's office, call us back, and, we'll come back out and help. And we did. And, the guy, he had been down for a little while. So, obviously there was, notable smells or, fluids and things like that. But I think Miss Sharon liked the way that I conducted myself because, again, I can't be like, right, because that's somebody's loved one, that's somebody's child or brother or dad or whatever. So, I treat everybody the way that I hope my family is treated. So I go in there, I handle my business, and then Miss Sharon asked me if I'd ever thought about being a coroner, and I was like, no. Not at all.
It's not something people just kind of lay awake and think about, right?
Right. So she sparked my interest, and I've always been interested in medical stuff because I am an EMT, and I've gone through it twice. I did it again recently, a few years ago, just as a refresher through AMR. But I enjoy the mysteries of the human body. I enjoy learning the different systems and, what does what, and, one's falling off, where does the other one come into play or what have you, or, I just enjoyed that. And then, with Miss Sharon, being able to, like I said, find those puzzle pieces and put that pieces of the puzzle together, like I fell in love with it. I was good at it, just, from my background and, being a woodsman, I'm familiar with weapons and things like that, trajectories and velocities and things like that. So that helped me out. And anyway, but Sharon, she took me under her wing and taught me, I wouldn't say everything she knows because she is a wealth of knowledge, but I got to train under the best, one of the most experienced death investigators in the state of Mississippi. She took me on her wing. I ended up being her chief deputy. And then she came to me and said that she was thinking about retiring. She's been, 25 years of this is a very long time. That's a lot. Yeah. And she was still young. She wanted to get out to go, catch up with families and things like that. And so she asked me if I would take over, and I told her I would. And so that started that process. She nominated me to the Hinds County Board of Supervisors. And I ended up getting a unanimous vote of approval to take over the Hinds County Coroner's Office. And I did that on January 1. So I've actually been the coroner since January for the past 11 months. And it's one of the most, just getting that unanimous vote with the Board of Supervisors, that was a big moment for me. Very humbling knowing that, the county, the board of supervisors know that, they, for me to take over, that the coroner's office would be in good hands. And I think that's why Sharon also felt like she could retire at that moment, knowing that she had built a good foundation and that she was going to leave it into good hands. And that's, and I can't thank her enough. I can't thank the board enough, because just being the Hinds County coroner, even for the past 11 months, has been one of the most rewarding and humbling experience that I've ever been a part of, and I just can't thank everybody enough for even giving me that opportunity.
So, opportunity. Okay.
Right.
I'm looking at the clock, and I know we got to go.
Oh.
So you got the hot opportunity to be on the hot seat for the next 10 minutes. So you ready? We're going to put you on the hot seat. All right. So each one, I have some questions for you. And each one of these questions, I want you to think about it. And I want you to let our listening audience know what your thoughts are. But I need you to give me a very timely response. So
Sure.
I want you to listen, think, and respond.
Sure.
Got it?
Got it.
All right. First question is, how do you balance the scientific responsibilities of determining the cause of death with the emotional sensitivity required when working with grieving families? Scientific responsibilities and emotional sensitivity.
Yeah, so those can be extremely tough. Some people don't always believe that their loved one passed away from natural causes. And I don't know why. Like there's a lot of people that just, I don't want to say wish the worst on their loved one, but like they just assume the worst happened to their loved one. And sometimes trying to, convince them otherwise can be a little bit difficult, because when people's emotions are high, sometimes they're not listening,
True.
Sometimes, like, no matter what you say, like, they ain't hearing it. But again, that's why you focus everything scientifically, you present them the evidence. So with the coroner's office, I'm big on transparency. I'm different than law enforcement, and there's nothing that I will tell you everything I know, because the cause of manner is not going to change. It's not going to change the outcome of the case or anything like that. The details of those injuries aren't going to change. So I feel like I can help those families know everything that I know, and in some way maybe they would get a little help with closure, and getting past the death of their loved one. But yeah, it's just a fine balance. You just gotta, I can't change death certificates because of whatever reason, or if I put accidental, they're going to get insurance, or insurance will pay that. If it's not accidental, I mean, I can't. That's insurance fraud. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be careful. You just explain it to the family. Usually, if you explain it to them, they'll understand.
Well, I think you kind of answered my next question in what you just said. So the question actually was, in cases involving potential misconduct or controversial deaths, how would you ensure transparency and maintain public trust?
Oh, I'm telling. The family's going to know regardless. Now with the media, and I know some things are of public interest, and I have a really good relationship with the media. Whenever they call me, I try to answer their questions in a timely response, because again, we know that there's certain incidences that happen that the public are really interested in. They want to know, and again, I know if I go ahead and just give that media, some information, they're not going to put out some false information, and that you can't get that back. I will. But again, I tell the family, and I usually tell the family, like, look, hey, I got to talk to the media, but this is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into crazy details, but I'm going to give enough to know, like, where the public knows exactly, what happened and what come about it and what's, the next process. But law enforcement is a little bit different. They have to be a little bit more sensitive because they're dealing with the criminal side.
Right.
So, they don't want to say anything to jeopardize the integrity of the investigation. But again, at the end of the day, for the coroner's office or my office, we're going to be as transparent. Whatever we know, if you want to know it, you can know too. There's even times with like autopsy reports. I may not be able to give you that autopsy report at this time because, again, it's an open investigation, still active. However, but if you want to know everything that's on that, I'm gonna tell you word for word. I'll paint a picture.
Oh yeah, and I can attest to that because I had to call many times. I was with DOL.
So we tell them,
that's for autopsy results. Now, I want to shift the conversation here because we're actually dealing with an issue here in the state of Mississippi that is very troubling to many of us, and that is the high incidence of infant mortality here in the state of Mississippi. And I can only imagine as a coroner that's probably the hardest investigation.
They can be extremely tough, and especially the ones that you determine were not naturals. Like those can kind of get it, those can weigh a toll on you. I approach every situation scientifically. I try to put my emotions in my back pocket. I'm human, so I have emotions, and when I see an innocent child, that had been, brutally murdered or beaten or what have you, like I want to be just like the next person. Let's go find them. You know what I mean? Like whoever did this to this baby, we're going to go find. But I can't because I have a job to do, and so I try to put my emotions in my back pocket and I focus everything scientifically because at the end of the day, I got to get justice for that baby. But those are rare. So, it's not like we just get, a bunch of beaten babies all the time. But the infant mortality rate is extremely high. And I do see that most of the infant mortality rates are going to be due to co-sleeping. Moms want to sleep with the babies in the bed, or dads, fall asleep with the babies in the recliner, or just unsafe sleeping conditions. That's where a majority of our infant mortality rates come. I was on the radio last week, and I made the comment that there were some days that you just wish that you could just go, put your head in a pillow and forget that day ever happened. Well, I was actually referring to a case that I went to that day. Where I had to take a 4-year-old and I had to take it from that mother, and that's tough. That's really, really, really tough thing to do. For the mother extremely, because obviously she just lost her child, but then here I come and I got to take your baby away from you, and those can be kind of tough. Those be very emotional. At the end of the day, obviously. I don't mean any ill will towards her, but again, we have an obligation to do, to investigate that death, and I need to get those answers for that mom, because again, if it's natural, like what caused that natural death? Is there something that she needs to be aware of? Is she planning on having kids in the future? Is it? It could be simple as taking a prenatal vitamin, that could help out, So again, getting those answers, they can be kind of tough, but you just focus scientifically and put your emotions in your back pocket, and because at the end of the day, you have a job to do.
So does your office then work in conjunction with like the state health officer to provide the data?
Yeah. And we work with DPS a lot. So any child death investigations, DPS is going to come out and investigate those. Same as if we're dealing with elderly abuse cases or neglect, we work hand in hand with the Attorney General's office for those cases, which fortunately are rare, but they unfortunately do happen. So yeah, you just you got to work well with those particular agencies, because again, they may have information that you need, and they need your information to conduct their investigation. So you got to have a good working relationship and know who you're working with. Again, like, if you have an elderly abuse case, you got to get in touch with the Attorney General's office, and you need to know that, who's your contact person.
So
like that.
To your point, even with the infants, is there an agency that you are required to report those deaths to for tracking purposes? Or
not necessarily. Now we're going to make sure that CPS has been notified. We're going, because whether it's natural, unnatural, accidental, because again, I don't know the history of the family, right? But CPS does. They may already have a history or built a report with those that family. So yeah, you have to work, well with CPS, the Attorney General's office, we do report those numbers to them. Also, everything that we do goes to an electronic systems called EDRS, is through Vital Records. So Vital Records, as you know, the state has a copy of it as well. So yeah, you know, it is unfortunate, but you know, those type of deaths do happen. You know, they can be kind of tough to deal with.
And I can only imagine. I think about and we got to wrap up. I'm not going to ask you a question that's on my list, but I am going to give you an opportunity. We got about 60 seconds left here, and I have another guest that's coming in studio. What would you like for the residents of Hinds County to know about you and what you feel like uniquely qualifies you to continue serving in the role that you're already in?
Well, yeah. So obviously, you know, I was trained by the best, you know, death investigator in the state of Mississippi, Miss Sharon Grisham Stewart. You know, she took me under her wing, and I was her chief deputy, and you know, she was my mentor. So when it comes to death investigations, I have more than enough experience. I've personally led more than 4,000 death investigations myself. But again, I'm just a humble servant. You know, I like I said, I was brought up with the fire department, joined the coroner's office. I really, you know, enjoy helping people and finding answers, and, you know, come tomorrow, you know, with everybody's, you know, support and your vote, I'll continue to be your humble servant. You know?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your service. We certainly do appreciate the service that you're already providing to the citizens of Hinds County. And again, we want to make sure that our listening audience knows that tomorrow is election day. The polls open at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. They will be open until 7 p.m. And we would like to encourage everyone to go out and support your candidate of choice. Mr. Howard is certainly hoping that he is your candidate of choice on tomorrow. But please show up at the polls. It is so important that we participate in the process. If we don't participate in the process, then we have no right to complain when the process does not work for us. Thank you so much for joining us here at WMPR 90.1 FM, and best wishes to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, back to you in Studio A. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope that went well for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna make a shift here one more time. I got this interview thing going here. We're gonna keep it going. All righty. We're gonna keep it going this morning.
Hello, this is Dr. Sabrina Edmund Williams, educator, author, investor, and host of So Talks Money and More. You are invited to start your week with me at 7 a.m. on Mondays, right here at the
Good morning. How you doing?